Hello, welcome everybody to the February 20th, 2025 Rockingham County Commissioners meeting. I ask everyone to stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So in the building, we have myself, Commissioner Kate Coyle, Commissioner Tom Borello, and Commissioner Godu. Also, we have Allison Kivakowski, Jason Henry, Chantel Jaconin, Stu Gates, Chuck Nickerson, and Layla Matilla. This is in the room. Outside the room, I see it's quiet in Zoom land, but we have Sheriff Assayas and Erin Coker. Welcome. So we'll get right into it, and we have one opening for the jail chiller replacement.
Make a motion to authorize the Senior Director of Facilities Planning and IT to review, evaluate the proposal and determine the recommendation.
Second.
Any discussion? Without any on the motion, Commissioner Godu?
Yes.
Commissioner Tom Borello?
Yes.
And I vote yes. We have the consent agenda first with respect to some meeting minutes for January 23rd and January 29th.
I'll make a motion to approve the January 23rd, 2025 public minutes and the January 29th, 2025 public meeting minutes.
Second.
I think Layla, you sent an email last night.
Yeah, so with respect to the non-public meeting minutes, the issue is that was when I had recorded it
Oh,
and I put it on a zip drive for Layla, so I just handed that to her, so we should. But if Layla, if you're back, if you need any help for doing those minutes for next week, I'm happy to jump in. But otherwise, any delay is exclusively because of me. I think we can see that.
You're
it's the one question. The simple one was the one question of who made the motion, right?
Yeah, I mean, I was assuming that you made.
Yes. And, oh, on that other issue, yes. Okay.
Thank
So do we have any other discussion?
No.
Okay, on the motion, Commissioner Tom Borello,
Yes.
Commissioner Godu?
Yes.
And I vote yes. We have the nurses' salary line monthly budget review. And with that, also the agency review. Well, does anybody want to talk about it?
I think we're trending in the right direction. We are doing well, I think.
I mean,
But we're so far off. I'm not feeling like the comfort zone yet, except that it's fantastic that we're moving in the right direction. We're below budget, which is what we need to be. It was a good report.
I mean, with respect to the agency, we're under by nearly $5 million. I mean, 4.7 million. I mean,
I think
holy-
we've canceled just over 10 contracts. And then I know there's more kind of in the class coming out soon and more kind of hires. So as we continue to do that, we hope to be able to kind of
I started to scribble.
back off on some of those. And we've had more people start to approach us about being able to join as well.
that's just awesome. I mean, we're talking, I mean, we could be 8 million under by the end of the year. I think that's a real.
We were 10 million over the previous year, so.
I wasn't
It
here
means,
then.
No.
it means that we're bringing it back down to where it
Again,
needed to be.
and
That
I
was,
Yeah, exactly. And we talked about this again, emphasizing this. You didn't join us till the second quarter. So, I mean, the rate of this reduction, is just remarkable, and that we're bringing our retention and recruitment is just going in the direction we're.
And I really do think a large part for around the hiring in that piece truly is Autumn switching in HR to the Indeed quick apply, because they're able to just kind of 10-second commit opposed to a 40-minute kind of fill out everything. And it really has seen an increase, at least for our department. I don't know about the other divisions, but I think it's definitely added more to the recruitment side from a time standpoint, but I really think that we're seeing it in the people applying, so it's giving us more leads as well.
Yeah, I mean, it's just about lead generation, right? I mean, more than anything else, it's like cast a wide net But, I think we've seen it across all departments, just that quick app, what a difference.
Are we gonna talk about staffing for the following year? There was some discussion. I don't know if this is an appropriate time since it's related to the nurse's salary line.
I think that's, I mean, I think initially it might be better suited for non-public.
Okay.
Just because, and then we can, you know, I have no doubt it'll be a public topic at some point, but
Right, okay, fine.
because it's at its inception and it's affects both personnel and a
Absolutely,
proposed
it does.
action.
Okay,
Okay, next, does anybody have anything else to share? No? Okay, we'll move on to the February 20th AP list.
I'll make a motion to approve the February 20th, 2025 accounts payable list of $2,705,461.26.
second,
Discussion?
I just want to make one comment. So I had a lengthy discussion yesterday with Chuck. Very lengthy. I think we set almost a record of how long we were on the phone. If I had to pay him by the minute, I'd owe him a lot of money. And then I obviously talked to Allison just to look at what we're spending on. And I like, this wasn't when I was here way back. We didn't have.
The analysis?
Yeah, I like
So
it.
helpful.
oh my God, that was
Thank
while you
you.
were gone, we just started that, we asked for it.
Actually,
Yeah.
Commissioner Godu, I think.
You think I asked for
I
it?
don't know, it's like.
I think that's an AP.
That's more details.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I'm kind of focused on the money, so yeah, I probably did ask for it, but
I
yeah,
mean, it's
Chuck's
nice
done
to
a
see,
great
but I
job
did
since.
see something that was a little alarming on the
helpful.
last two, the medical claim expenses, and I had
Well,
a discussion with, I know we're
I
gonna
know.
be talking about that, and obviously we're running, we have a couple of cases, and I know we can't discuss them, but that are really costing, and a lengthy discussion with Allison yesterday too, about where we're going, whether or not we stay self-insured, whether or not, I know right now, nobody in the world would ever take us, knowing that we have to bring this baggage with us, because it is baggage, it's high-end cases.
Well,
But-
what we're gonna see is, I think the issue, what you're saying is our stop loss.
Yeah.
And getting that, our stop loss coverage is gonna go up significantly as. a
Nobody would
result.
ever take us nobody's gonna take us. so
Well,
we're
I don't-
locked into
I
this.
also think, you know, we've talked, you know, swirled around the idea of getting into like a captive, which is a self-insured pool, risk pool. And, I touched upon that with Gallagher yesterday again, and they are running that to look at that because we are out on our own as far as being in a risk pool, with like other, you know, counties or municipalities or stuff like that might be a benefit to us, because when we have a bad year, it's uplifted by everybody else in the risk pool, and then, you know, but there'll be more to come on that discussion.
Yeah,
The other thing too was that Allison and I talked about, you know, looking at the Cobra. You know, right now, we don't have a deductible on the Cobra, so we don't know if we can do it.
Cobra is a federally, required, so any employer is required by law to offer Cobra.
Yeah.
That's nothing we can get into and we can
Is
change.
the-
or anything.
18 months after employment, up to, right?
Up to.
correct. And Mike, can we set the rate though? What,
The rate is,
discretion,
the
or is
rate,
it
you
federally
can't set the
set?
rate, that's federally set because
Okay.
it's based on what your premium is, but we
Correct,
can do
okay.
that 2% administrative charge over that, which is what we do.
Okay.
To help offset the, costs that we are for the third party carrier to do it. for
I know
us.
our Cobra claims have. And
Yeah, that's all, but just getting back, I really like the way that I can look and I see like Jude had some stuff at waste with the treatment plant. I mean, it's nice to be able to see a little description with the comment on what it is, so I like it, so I give you guys
Thank you.
credit.
We weren't sitting on our
You guys
hands.
worked hard.
We weren't sitting on our hands while you were away.
Yeah, well, I just want to mention that as far as Tom's talking about is the almost $1.2 million of medical claims between December and January.
Yeah,
But what happens is
We get-
stop loss, so anything over the 175 spec level or attachment point, whatever you want to call
we
it.
get a percentage
Um,
back.
we get it all back.
Get it all
So
back.
any claim dollars paid beyond that individual claim, we get back, but there's a lag. So for example, so
So right now
far in
they're
the month
paying.
of February, we've gotten about $875,000.
Of that.
So there's always a lag time, so it looks bad up front. You know, I don't do a revenue report, so or else
right,
you might see that, but that offsets or abates the claim dollars, because we have to pay all the claims up front because we are self-insured, but the stop loss funds abate back the claim dollars.
The issue is what our stop loss is gonna be.
Oh,
for
yeah,
next
that's
Well,
gonna
the
be
insurance is
a
gonna go up,
large
right,
The
yeah.
stop
renewal.
loss,
Now,
that's for renewal.
We do
cost.
still have significant reserves or fund balance in the health fund to the point where I've tasked Elaine Newberry to come up with some cash projections, and I'll want to do a separate I'll propose a CD ladder program to a smaller extent, not the big ones that we had as far as $5 million CDs, but instead maybe like 500,000, like $500,000 ones, because health fund has enough to be able to do that.
That's
And
great.
that can help offset some expenses by bringing in more
Oh,
revenue.
great. Get more interest.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
I also have a smaller
What
plan
terms?
to that extent for doing workers' comp fund too, just
That's great.
lesser monies. I'll run that past the treasurer and then bring it to the board, but
It's-
anyways, that's it.
What term, CDs are
I
you
wanna
thinking?
do, ladder program maturing every 2 months. So basically, that's why I'm doing 6, so every other month
Yeah.
will mature, but just in rule term of 12 months.
Great. That's what I was
So
thinking.
that way you can
We
always cash it
cash
if
out.
needed.
Yeah.
Yep.
Just to add, I know that large claimant is out there, but when we go out to stop loss, the carriers are gonna know that drops in December. It
Correct.
drops off,
Yeah.
so that'll be
That would
gone.
be helpful
And
to
it's,
us in
it very
terms of
much will,
exposure.
because other than that, the other claims, well, we have 9 others. I think there's maybe 3 that are over the cap of the is it 175?
Right.
Yeah, 175, but that's not as bad,
Yeah, there's
claims,
this
it's not as
trending.
bad as what their medical is. So, thank you.
Okay. Does anybody have any further discussion? That was a departure on
Yeah.
the,
Sorry.
on the, motion for the AP. Commissioner Godu,
Yes.
Commissioner Pombrello, and I vote yes. All right, moving on to commissioners' reports. Does anybody have anything they'd like to share?
Just
Go
that
ahead.
I'm working on contract negotiations and looking forward to continuing.
Great, thank you.
I don't feel the same way he does. I'm doing negotiations, but,
You're not having as much fun as me?
yeah, not yet, but I got a feeling that we will have some fun. So today, we're actually, Allison, Chuck, the superintendent, I'm gonna meet, they're not ready to give us a proposal, today, but we are still gonna have a little meeting, and then I'll be at the legislative conference on Monday, I've been copied. And then yesterday I came in and I, had a good, went around UNH and I kind of went from office to office and introduced myself and talked to the different groups. They're very eager to get a tour and they're gonna be on the list of the tour people for the new building, and I met with them and they're working on their budget, so I kind of poked in a little bit and got involved with their budget, and they look like they're gonna be okay. They're not coming in with anything astronomical. They usually don't. If you follow the trend and you guys have, the UNH comes in pretty much spot
Oh,
on.
they just divided the number that, yeah, that's like
But
right on the money.
I had a good conversation with all of them yesterday, so. They had a meeting last night and I was gonna either come in because they do offer food, although my wife was called for food salad, so I stayed home. And I didn't have to Zoom because they really didn't have much on the agenda, so, but I was planning to come in because they do offer supper. So. Anyway, that's.
I don't
my
have any
report.
trouble finding food.
Yeah, that's my report. Well, we're good.
That's what you want for the, when we're evaluating the RFPs for dietary. You want to get.
Whether or not we're
Is
gonna get
there
that.
gonna be a? And I start, union negotiations, we start next week, so. Onward and upward, it is nice to see, I mean, Chantal, I don't want to steal your thunder, but we are unmasked, so it's always,
Yes.
it
Yeah.
is pleasant to be in that, to be out of outbreak status, and, it also means, good news for the residents, so.
Yeah, to get out of masks, we've cleared 3 outbreaks. We got hit incredibly hard in a 1-week span with 3 different outbreaks, so we have officially cleared all of them.
It's great, it's really great news, and it means it's, better conditions for our residents.
Yes.
That's most significantly. Okay, with that, we'll move to facilities operations, change order request for Warren Street.
I'll make a motion to approve a change order request for Warren Street Architects, Inc. for an amount not to exceed $27,610 and authorize the chair to sign all necessary documents as recommended by the Senior Director of Facilities Planning and IT.
Second.
Any discussion? We've just accelerated the pace, so it makes sense to, this is like short money and let's not be penny wise and pound foolish.
Right.
That's the name of this game.
Keeps it rolling.
Yeah, exactly. On the motion, Commissioner Tombrello,
Yes.
Commissioner Godu,
Yes.
and I vote yes.
Thank you.
We have a long-term care write-offs approval.
Make a motion that Rockingham County approve the write-offs for long-term care services for fiscal year 2025. Should that be fiscal year 2025?
Yeah, we're
Yeah.
currently in it, so yeah.
This
Yep.
year.
Or wouldn't we be, so that's.
We're writing them off now.
Okay.
We're writing them off now.
Total, thank you, Chuck. $243,343.37 is recommended by the Senior Director of Finance and the Senior Director of Long-Term Care Services.
Second.
Discussion. You want
It would appear that the diligence has been done to do our best to collect. We got a good report that was comprehensive as to why all of the these items needed to be written off, and it's part of our function as a community to make sure we're providing services to, and it often goes to people who otherwise can't afford it. So this seems to be a normal course of business for us.
And can I just add that the whole amount is actually accounted for in the allowance for uncollectible accounts, so there will be no effect on your revenues. These are not
This is
direct
expected
write-offs.
within our
Right.
budget.
Right, because all these were age greater than 2 years coming into this fiscal year, so therefore, anything that's by default, anything that's more than 2 years old, whether it's a Medicare, Medicaid, or private pay is fully reserved for. If it's 2 years or greater age, and so that's what all these are.
And
Yep.
not to be the bad note, I guess. So, when I first started, there was kind of a temp that was supporting getting all the documentation. This is one of, I believe, 4 batches that we're now kind of consolidating, so I just want to throw it out there. There's gonna be more coming. With finance, myself and my team, we started that RCM, that revenue cycle management meeting that we've talked about, where we're trying to get, the books kind of more clean in a sense, where the things we know we can't collect, flush out, and then we've changed our practices to be able to avoid a lot of this moving forward. It's not gonna be totally avoidable because the population we take care of. But to minimize a lot of that, and through those efforts, we've made kind of collections, supported families, and have made adjustments to some of our Medicaid practices as well to help support some of these gaps and minimizations. But there are more coming. However, proactively in conjunction with finance and my team, we have made adjustments to try and avoid and mitigate this moving forward.
Do we know how much more is coming?
I'd be
And is
lying
it
if
within our budget of
It
what
is.
we're expecting for write-offs?
almost all of it is within the 2 years. Because we did it off of the 2 years from the collection date, not the fiscal year. So for the most part, all of them are accounted for.
Yeah, probably the vast majority would be part of that allowance balance, because, and that allowance balance is significant. I think we might have started with like 1.5 million or something.
And I could be misspeaking, because of the amount of write-offs, I think that some of this are write-offs that would have probably fallen in different fiscal years if they had been kind of,
Oh,
Kept
that haven't
up
been
with.
kept up with.
yeah.
I mean,
Yeah,
it's like,
yeah.
we're digging out a
Right.
little bit, and, I just had one question. It looked like in one instance, we were doing a write-off where there's a lien on real estate.
Right,
So,
we
I-
don't give up, actually
It
try the collection
maintains it.
efforts, but in all reality, it's
On
not going to be
paper.
collected,
Okay.
but we don't just give up on the liens. per
Why
se.
would we, what is it because the way the property is deeded? Or like why, in terms of the,
It's just because there's still a balance owed and that they did actually have an asset. I don't know if it's circumstances that
No,
even with
but-
the resident passing. Is
I
there
know
still family?
why we
in there?
put the lien on. My question is why we won't be able to ever collect it.
So I don't know the practice here.
I mean, we might, it's just in all reality,
You're saying
Maybe.
not in the may not be in
Right.
the foreseeable future, because obviously they have
Right.
to sell it to.
Right,
because-
Yeah.
Lien
so,
after
So
the fact.
purposes of our paper, our
Correct.
accounting, okay.
So
That's what I was,
first has been deceased for some years.
yeah.
yeah,
it's just-
historically, if it were to sell and then that lien were to be paid, then on our side, we account for it. Historically, how I've done it, it's then accounted for to be able to
Usually,
book, I guess, that,
bookkeeping, yeah.
yeah, that kind of line. But it's one of those things that you don't know if or when it'll come, and sometimes you just all of a sudden get a nice
You,
amount.
I think typically the issue is if you have joint tenants with rights of survivorship, you can put the lien on the property, but the spouse has homestead protections for so that it's.
Yeah, I could be waiting a while, but
I mean, I've had a lien paid out like 30 years after
Oh,
it's
yeah.
put on before, so.
Yeah.
I'd like to not have it on the books for 30 years.
Oh,
if possible.
touche.
So,
And I do want to just sort of reemphasize some of the work that Chantel, you're doing that we've discussed about changing practices in the here and now to try to reduce the amount of write-offs going forward. And so, having better practices in terms of collecting in the present will hopefully be helpful in reducing the amount of write-off.
did we, gosh,
Sure, good.
did we, or Chuck, didn't we have a company that was gonna look into trying, we were gonna take a percentage and try it, I mean, years ago, I don't.
Polaris did look
Yeah.
into things, but the problem is by the time they got to look at some things, we've gone past, the window to collect on, whether it's a Medicare or private pay in some cases, well, not private pay, but for Medicare, Medicaid.
Yeah,
Because generally speaking, if something goes beyond 18 months, good luck. Good luck. Even if you have valid reasons or rationales for following up on things and for appealing, it doesn't mean if you're in the right that your claim's gonna be out there and actually be collectible.
do they still look at it before we classify it as a write-off?
Oh, everything's looked at before it actually goes to write off. Yeah, it's just unfortunate. What we've done now is that anyone who's coming in as Medicaid, we make sure that there's already determination basically that they are going to be Medicaid. It helps if they're Medicaid in the community already. But we've had problems before where someone might be Medicaid pending for a long time, but the family never fully completes the application, or it turns out, oh, surprise, there's a sale of property, in the look back period, and the monies went to the children, and good luck now,
So not to jump the gun. So one of the county homes, Merrimack County, has a business office that's incredibly strong in Medicaid, Raymond, and they've been very kind in supporting the center here with education. They did an education call for a lot of our team, have shared their policies. Myself, Kathy, and Kendra have kind of been sitting down and building out a lot of processes around Medicaid to support, where right now we don't truly support the assisted living side. To kind of do that, we've started kind of around some of the financial pieces, gathering information from some of our privates so we can anticipate when they would need it, proactively having those conversations. There is a company, and I very briefly spoke with Commissioner Coyle about it, that they utilize. I'd be lying if I gave the name right now, but I have it written down. That I think it's $80 a search, and it does a full look back of any assets that might have transferred through like cars or things that may then turn into something. You don't catch everything, but if there was a house that I gave to my child in that look back period that you wouldn't find in the documents, but it's still within that 5 years, we would have that before, moving forward. So we wouldn't be getting hit with a $300,000, $400,000 gap that we're never going to do, because then it's a gift. So we have reached out to that company to try and get a books on the call to learn more about it.
Great. All right. Without any further discussion on the motion, Commissioner Tombrello.
Yes.
Commissioner Godu.
Yes.
And I vote yes.
Thank you.
Okay, we're up to human resources. There's a UKG document management update. Wilson, take it away.
So, as you know, 2 years ago, I came to the board about converting our paper files into electronic document management system. When we had the breach of the system on UKG overall, they came forward and we moved over to Dimensions and Pro. And there was a document management system that was kind of in that mix of things that was going to be no additional cost. We had already prepared and had vetted other vendors prior to the whole thing that happened with UKG. But we decided to pause and go with UKG based on, we gave them kind of what an RFP would look like, just so they could confirm that they could meet all the terms and conditions of what we were looking to do and achieve. And we were put on hold because we had to implement the system. And finally, they let us go live on July 24, 2024, just to start the implementation. And we have just been, it's not going well. Everything they said they could do is not going the way we can. They are now in a project where they're, you know, underseeing the document management system again. It's in, what is it called? When they put something in there? I forget what they call it, but they're in another system that they're reevaluating it and upgrading it. And so the questions that we had posed to them, they had to get an account management, and we elevated up the chain like we did with Ben's stuff. And they assigned somebody to us. So we had a really thorough meeting with them, and they have come back and told us that some of the things that we need to have for this system, they are not able to support. And in the new version that they're working under right now, that will be somewhere down the road, they are not taking, they will not be able to transition to some of the stuff that we need as well. So I'm going out to RFP because we've spent a lot of time and energy on this. We have well over probably 125 cabinets downstairs of paper files, personnel files. We need to get them scanned. We are continuing to scan as we have, and Katie Kenyon has been indexing all of the documents, like every single document is indexed with a certain coding and title, so that when we scan them in, it'll go in the appropriate electronic file. We're able to have legal holds on stuff that we'll need for electronic purposes. We'll have other holds that we can do when somebody or an outside agency comes in to look at a personnel file. The whole goal is to allow employees to have access to the files, for the ODDs and their supervisors to have access to certain parts of the personnel file. And before we go any further deeper into UKG and what we're coming up against, I'm going to put it out to RFP to look and have our reevaluation. We already have had a couple of vendors that we've called back just to kind of reassess things now that we know what some of the issues are with UKG, to determine if they are able to provide those items in a system. But we are going to put it out to RFP. And I just wanted to tell you, Katie's done a fabulous job. She's one person. She really knows electronic communication. She really knows, electronic document management, because she's done it before in her previous roles. And, you know, Robin had connected in with her in the beginning, and Robin has a lot of confidence in Katie's ability and what she was doing. But I'm seeing her, the frustration level finally hit about 2 weeks ago when she came and talked to me and said, we cannot do what they said we were going to do. And then so I called for a meeting, and they validated some of the stuff that she was asking. They are now saying they're not in a capacity to do it, and it won't be rolled out in their upgraded version that they're going to be offering. So I don't feel, even though it was free, and it was part of the roll up, I don't believe, I just feel like they wanted us to continue on with them in UKG and have that part of it, but it's not going to meet the needs that we have within the county.
How are we doing with UKG regarding payroll?
And what is the,
I mean, because that hasn't been panacea either.
No, there's been some improvement. It did get to the point where Ben took advantage of getting contact info from like the CEO, CFO during the Aspire conference last year, and he finally utilized, you know, that contact info, and we've had some progress since, meaningful progress. They are truly working on things. You know, I can't speak as far as to the HRIS part too, because it seemed like there were some issues on that end too. But you know, there's been progress. I don't think we'll get to the point where it's going to be how Workforce Central was, which was the Kronos product that we used before that private cloud of theirs was, you know, there was an attempted hack there. And that's what caused this whole thing spiraling, that they sunset that program, and then UKG, Ultimate Group or whatever, took them over and merged with Kronos, and then they were shifting everyone else to this UKG Dimensions and Pro products instead. And so we've made the best of what we can. We are continuing to make some progress, but in the end, I think it still won't be to where, you know, the Kronos product was.
So is there, I guess my real question is there a
product?
product that is gonna be more
Compact.
comprehensive that we might even consider as part of your RFP, whether it ought to include payroll? Is there some advantage to having one company handle the whole thing as
Or-
opposed to having two separate ports.
Precisely, and is there gonna be compatibility? Like,
Right,
that's
and,
the,
right, and
I mean,
compatibility.
that's
Any-
my issue.
Any of the vendors that we're talking to are very well versed in ADP and UKG products. They have crossovers and stuff like that, just like with NeoGov that we have and importing stuff from UKG. They're able to do that too. NeoGov does that. It just heightens the fact that, you know, where we had to delay the whole records management, like moving forward, she was doing indexing and still scanning, but we got one group done, which is deeds, but we can't even it's in a test environment. But there's so much that we can't do for some of those files that are in there. That's what kind of spawned that further conversation and her frustration. The 1095s that we are not required to do anymore. This just goes to show, Julie did all the data behind the system. She went to print the 1095s, is not able to understand why it's not printing. And because we had the crossover of December and January, she finally got that vetted out to find out that when we did the implementation, UKG did not do a portion of something that was supposed to have been done in that. So now we're on a standstill, waiting for them to do those tickets to elevate it so that we can print for those that want the 1095s, that we can print the 1095s. So it's just small things that hit that we're supposed to have done. And we vetted that pretty well because we had a test and everything, but there was a connection or something that they didn't do. And because it's been so long now, they have to go back to the drawing board and try to figure out how they're gonna work that out, a workaround for us to be able to print the 1095s. Just little things, but I would like to look at that. Last time we talked, Robin was involved. We had Robin involved in it. It was good because Katie and Robin could talk about the different elements. We're gonna throw the RFP out and invite and have Robin a part of that too. Just because she kind of has good feedback and information that we considered when we're looking at anything, just to see what's out there and to see what the cost is and to try to move forward with this initiative that we had. But I just wanted to let you know our frustration.
And just quickly going back, Commissioner Godu, it's hard to get one program, as you can tell now, that satisfies everything. That's the
Okay,
problem.
so
It's hard to.
you don't
it's hard-
anticipate,
Like ADP actually turned us down, didn't bid
At all.
on us for HRS or payroll.
Oh, really?
Because we're complicated. We're not a simple.
Right.
Right,
We're
but
special.
ADP is pretty
I like
big.
Oh, they
company.
are.
It's not
They-
like.
right. That shows
You're
we're not
they
an
couldn't
easy
handle
one.
it.
You're
We have
special.
many
You're
complicated paid policies, even for non-human
Right,
population for certain cases. We're not just an easy run the mill, you send your time cards in or whatever, and you have basically set easy policies.
well, should we be adjusting policies to make it easier, or is that like even I mean, probably we have too many agencies that are together.
I mean, I think it's like figuring out what we can find that can be compatible with the payroll that we're using now. That to me is like figuring out what we can have that meets your needs, HR's needs from a personnel file that is also compatible with the UKG program. Because alternatively, we're talking about doing
Oh, another implementation.
another implementation. I know, I think Chuck's having
Yeah, he's already having convulsions, to get another company in.
PTSDs.
I might lose a few people.
So, I mean,
Yeah, it's
as
all
a-
on Julie on our end.
so I think, like, let's see what's out, what our options are, and then,
All the counties are moving to paperless and other stuff, and we have talked about them,
And,
so it's
you know,
a good thing.
we've been talking about trying to,
Send it up.
even using programming that we could do, have all of our policies online across the whole, like, to put a centralized policies, because I think that's one issue. It's also good from a protective standpoint for the county in terms of everybody has access to a online platform where they can review all the policies. We can do policy specific for departments, things like that. And so I think we need to be thinking in the big picture about moving electronically and what tools we can have that make it easier for the employees, but also good from a management tool, as a management tool.
Thank you.
Okay, again, we really can go digress these, but and that's, we're moving on to the weather emergency. Hopefully that will be straightforward.
I'll make a motion to declare a weather emergency in the in accordance with personnel policies and procedures, chapter 8-4, starting at 11 p.m. on the start of the third shift as defined by the department on Saturday, February 15, 2025, 7 a.m. Or the start of the first shift is defined by the department on Sunday, February 16, 2025, and 3 p.m. or the start of the second shift is defined by the department on Sunday, February 16, 2025, as recommended by the Senior Director of Human Resources.
Second.
You need a slow coffee after. Drink that, like, motion. I know. Any discussion?
Weather looks good for a little while.
Yeah.
Oh, You said it out loud.
Yeah. Weather looks
I
good.
did see something that we have gotten 20, something like 27 inches and change in the month of February this year. Last year at this time, we had like 1.4.
Right.
So
We could use some more stuff.
We need the water for the spring. We were, ponds were low.
On the bright side.
house.
Be out an
It's
igloo.
melting next week, they're saying, so.
Yeah.
No.
Okay.
I'm on Team Spring. Okay, on the motion, Commissioner Godu,
Yes.
Commissioner Tom Burrell.
Yes.
And I vote yes. Next, we have the Lamprey Healthcare Physicians Services Agreement Amendments.
I'll make a motion to approve the two amendments of Lamprey Healthcare Physician Services Agreements with Heidi Bloomberg, MD, and Mary Brown, MD, effective October 1st, 2024, and authorize the chair to sign all necessary documents as recommended by the Senior Director of Long-Term Care.
Second.
Discussion.
So this is essentially a follow-up we brought forward before where we have the two doctor groups. We have Core and we have Lamprey, and we typically run with 5 doctors. We've been running with 4, and this group has been doing additional work to cover that vacancy from the Core side. It allows us, because it was agreed that amount split by the 25, we can do things for the contract to be able to do that. And then at the same time, kind of get those pieces. So those are our 2 providers from the opposite group that we talked about last week.
And we got the money back from Ford, so now we're in a good place financially as well. Any discussion? Other discussion? Okay, on the motion, Commissioner Tom Burrell,
Yes.
Commissioner Godu,
Yes.
and I vote yes.
Thank you.
Moving right into department head updates. We'll start in Zoom land. Sheriff,
Good morning. Just happy it's not snowing out. Nothing really new to report. Status quo, and that's it. Have a great rest of your week.
great. Erin, anything you'd like to add?
Nope.
Okay.
She's,
Just thought I'd ask.
she's learning, she's doing a great job, so.
Talk, so, right.
Just make sure Chuck's taking care of you.
Yeah.
Will do.
Back into the room. We'll start with Chuck.
You're in the middle, I like it.
Busy as usual, lots of grant stuff still going on, just not reporting, this time as far as for grants. Had my first meeting with the County State Finance Commission, Friday at the Brown Building, DHHS. And, that $22.5 million bill was brought up during that time, so now that DHHS individuals there really tried to challenge it. Henry Lippman did bring up, well, the gross cap for categorical assistance had been frozen for a couple of years. But it's like, well, this is a different matter. So we'll see where that goes. That bill also had a committee hearing last Monday. That went well. Representative Edwards spoke, but wasn't for or against. He did explain it would be tough in this budget cycle to get it done, but he realizes that, truly the state was double paid for that same 12.4% of claims.
Yeah.
And again, the individuals at DHHS at the Friday meeting did not challenge that either. It was also discussed that there's obviously concern what the feds are gonna do as far as what the federal medical assistance percentage is going to be. Because there's been some talk about reducing it from the 50% down to like 40, 42. That's hopefully really more of a fear. But again, just think of what that would mean for the non-federal share of the county claims.
Yeah.
Because instead of saying, because if the Fed portion moves down to say 42%, that means the county's portion goes up by
8%.
which is not just an 8% change, it's 16%. So if you take 16% on our almost $20 million,
Right.
budget amount, it's a
Big
bit of
money.
an increase. So we're definitely watching what's going on as far as CMS side of things, also ProShare. There's been some things on that that the feds, if they see that our private rate is not up to what the daily cost is for Medicaid, then they want us to increase our private pay rate up to that cost rate for the Medicaid cost report. And, or else you don't get your full measure of ProShare.
Oh my
And
gosh.
just to remind you, ProShare, we're budgeted for 7.25. We're actually anticipating more than that in June. So I'd be fearful of future ProShare. Again, that's kind of in the, that's in, that's up to CMS as far as. So we're having a discussion with Christy Roy from New Hampshire DHHS. She's gonna be part of the, I think the legislative call, or maybe Kate misspoke. Kate Horgan misspoke. Maybe it was really part of the administrator's call that's gonna follow the legislative committee call tomorrow afternoon from the HAC. So we'll be all ears for that one, because obviously that's a fair portion of nursing home revenue, and it's a fair portion of many other counties as far as sort of revenue.
It's,
So just, and obviously keeping tabs on what's going on with the federal government, impact to grants, things like that, even applications, or possibilities disappearing off grants.gov and not appearing again yet. So, Snipes' inability to draw down. I think there's been issues on never mind grants, just hearing back from federal government on certain things, especially CMS. That to the point where some people are speaking like offline, but they're not really supposed to be saying anything, but at least to give some updates to the county.
I think we are in for a really tough budget cycle, because what we're gonna see is downshifting costs from both the federal and state to the county, and and a reduction in revenues.
Well, the solar credit's safe. I can at least tell you that. I've been keeping tabs on that, and right now, that credit is safe, and would also mean the EV charger credit. You hear about stuff about the EG, charging projects that haven't happened. That funding is temporarily gone right now. But for our projects, they're, basically, just about done. Well, one is done, the county complex one is done. So we're good for the credit on those two individual ones too. So I can at least say for the 3 million plus in credits, federal credits, we're still good.
Well, at least we're not, seriously, at least we're not fighting, the work that we already have done, it just could be.
Yes, we're in a good spot. We're thankful because Merrimack, their solar array,
won't
it's throwing in
happen.
uncertainty
It's not gonna happen. for them.
combined with the PUC not renewing the 20-year. As far as net metering, so right now it goes to 2040.
Yeah.
So it impacts their financials as far as how they're looking at things, and in ours too. Sullivan now, I know where they're gonna go, they're just in planning stages of theirs, but there's a lot more headwinds going on for potential projects. So try and keep on top of it all, so.
Well, thank you.
Thanks for the good news, Chuck.
Yeah,
Hey, a $3 million credit is still okay.
All right.
That'll be the next.
that will be your
budget.
ending.
That'll be the next budget year.
Sorry,
End on a positive note.
Okay, I know Jude will have some good news.
Tough act to follow. Budget, we've been working like crazy on the budget. This last storm was definitely a challenge for us, the way it stretched out
Yeah.
and switched between snow and ice and et cetera. We're kind of backing up the truck and doing a little bit of retraining as well. We have a lot of new folks on our snow crews, so we'll get it. I have been working with Molly, trying to get some grant funding, formerly known as earmarks, to pick up some of the difference in the wastewater projects that, we put it out to RFP, but we were so late in the opera game that we were only able to award about 500,000 and the quotes were 3 million. So we're trying to get a couple of other elements of that project approved for grant funding. We chose the two that were most desirable for the state. They really would like us to be poised to discharge to the brook instead of only having the spray irrigation site from our wastewater plant. And these two pieces that we're looking at right now will put us in a really good position for that. So sort of good news. Yesterday we had an aborted effort to, we planned an emergency drill, a surprise emergency drill, which isn't the way we ordinarily do them. But we needed to change a breaker in a life safety panel. Unfortunately, when they went to shut off the main breaker, it wouldn't shut off. It's
Do what?
48, it would not shut off. It's 48 years old. So,
Easy.
Big, big.
Yeah.
Shut them off and we'll get them back on. That's
Well,
like,
no,
See,
that's-
that's the concern.
that's the thing.
That's the
Glass
concern.
half full, they weren't able to shut it off, so at least it didn't fill when they tried to turn it back
Come
on.
on.
So I'm getting pricing right now. I expect it will be significant. It's a 2,000 amp breaker.
2,000 amp.
Yeah, one of my electricians said,
Wow,
you
that's
know,
a
it
lot,
could be,
yeah.
the breaker
It's a
could be
big
on the
switch.
order of $20,000-$30,000, just the breaker.
Oh,
So, I'll keep you posted on that. They didn't get me quotes last night. I kind of hoped I had numbers
Contingency.
for you this morning.
contingency, I'll call the delegation.
yeah.
I'll be in touch with Chuck once I know exactly what we're dealing with. We'll get it done as quickly as possible. It's not, we're not in any jeopardy per se. It's probably not been able to be closed for quite some time, but what it's going to involve is shutting the power to the building off out at the pole, bringing in a temporary
That's just it.
generator so
Yeah.
that the building can be powered while the work is being done. So it'll be a fairly elaborate project.
Just to stay, yeah, exactly, not because of the work itself, but to keep the place
Totally.
operational
Exactly.
during that
Right,
time. Yeah,
so-
that's the challenge.
The
Yeah,
hard part
it'll
would be
be fun.
finding one and then seeing if it's still gonna fit in that tub.
right,
You know, the tub, the
Yeah.
enclosure.
yeah,
Yeah,
We run into it, but I do have that number for that guy in Ainsley. He
Okay.
has a warehouse, 5 stories of breakers,
okay,
anything you could possibly need. So if you need to ask me,
I
I'll
will,
get that for them.
okay,
But that's
I'll
the
let
hard
you know.
part. I mean, we have, meter banks that, I'm on back order 2 years to
Yeah,
get some
I know.
equipment that we need
I
for
know.
electrical.
We
so
started dealing with
that's
that
not
when
a
we drove
common
around
off-the-shelf
across the
item.
street.
yeah. I
So
mean,
that's where we are. It's not bad news. It's just not great news. Other
Unfortunately.
than that,
I don't know if I would, I don't think that's very good.
all,
That's why we do drills,
Right,
right? So that we find things out before it becomes a big
Right.
problem.
So on the drill.
that was a nice.
If I can
Right.
interject, so Jude and I have had a lot of conversations even with the team around the drills and what we're doing differently or had planned to do differently. Was kind of adapting where the reality is, even if you looked in the news of 2 weekends ago, 1 weekend ago, there was a assisted living that had a fire and they had to evacuate in those pieces. Is instead of myself, Michelle, Jude, and the people that have the knowledge to run the drill, being the one kind of doing it, is we had pre-meetings to plan the safety and put things into place, and then we were gonna fall into what I call an educator role. Because if it happens at 2 o'clock in the morning, I'm not here, Jude's not here, Michelle's not here, Siobhan's not here, and it's really trying to shift how we do drills is kind of one of our goals. So that our frontline staff, we can safeguard things, but it allows our frontline staff to safely have to work through the drills, because that's how they'll truly retain the knowledge. So God forbid something did happen, we have more staff that are trained and knowledgeable to act on a drill.
That's great.
So we did a lot of pre-planning. I learned a lot in it from the building and those pieces. But to be able to have our staff know that if this happens at 2 o'clock in the morning, 7 of these doors go down, now we have to have staff there to make sure residents don't cut out. Those are things that aren't necessarily known. And trying to build out our education in a safe way so that the knowledge of the leadership is being pushed down to the direct care, opposed to the leaders just kind of dictating and people getting pieces. Because on off shifts, that fire happened at 8 o'clock at night, their leadership wasn't there, right? So that's kind of been a lot of the conversations we've having. So it was still done safely and still planned. We probably won't do it that way for the big drill.
That's good.
you cursed us.
We were ready.
As you're going through this, I mean, just throwing this out there, is it something that you would want to consider cross-training to corrections, like, I have a large staff that could be called in an emergency. That could be helpful if there was, cross-training to whatever you guys need, I mean, we're right here, so.
Cross training is one of my favorite words,
So-
so.
You know, I'm not opposed to doing that, we definitely, we have staffing to be able to help out in emergency. They're great, they love emergencies, don't get me wrong, they're all hyped up for emergencies. You call that in, they're all coming like a stormtroopers, I'm in.
Yeah, I think on our side, I think the more knowledge you have, the better it is for our residents, right? Because if we have to evacuate and our demographics for the individuals in this room, we can self-evacuate a lot easier. But if we had to evacuate an entire unit or a building and the elevators are down and now you have to use the stairs and it's going to take significantly more people and time. And it would be all hands on deck for my team, and the more hands you have, the better. So I am always open to the help and the information and knowledge, and I think being able to do that will just continue to ensure that our residents are safe in those pieces of
As
it.
you build, think about cross-training, we'll be happy to.
I know that we're sitting down in our teams and kind of going through the emergency preparedness plan in its entirety to make sure everything's in it and that we're in agreement and things are aligned. Once that's done, I would love to be able to connect, and I'm sure Jude will do it and kind of have some of those. I think that'd be wonderful, and I will graciously and gratefully accept that.
Even if you could watch the outside doors, because
Yeah.
that's part of our issue.
Well,
It
the
was-
doors, but also
doors
they're
weren't
trained.
secure, so if someone's.
We
looking out of
had
the building,
to
you need know
identify
right away.
15 people to guard doors.
So we can do that also, I'm just thinking, if you have to carry
Get
people.
people out.
Mhm.
Yeah,
My staff is,
Sleds
Far
down
more
the
equipped
stairs.
than-
yeah.
my staff is male oriented.
Yeah.
If he was to wave it on, people can help carry.
Yeah.
If we need to.
Also, like, your response time is gonna be way faster than the fire department.
Yeah.
I mean,
Mhm.
that's the thing.
Mhm.
It's like you're your first responder.
Time's
It's
of
like
the
the way it
essence.
is. And so if you can,
Yeah, because we can shut down the building.
your team could get over there.
Yeah, I would love to be able to
Those-
connect on that too.
That's a great idea.
Yeah.
Great. Chantel, do you,
Can I ask
okay.
you a question?
go ahead.
You, sometimes I think weird stuff, so. We have 15 acres, so sometimes we do. Can we spray that fertilizer out there from the
No.
waste treatment plant?
No.
We-
We can't spray the effluent from the wastewater treatment plant at all because it's our wellhead. We can't put anything out there. We can't fertilize the
So we-
lawn with anything,
Okay.
no. It's part of the wellhead protection program because the wells are right there and they're only like 60 feet deep,
Okay, I
so.
just want to make sure that the 15 acres didn't interrupt something that we were doing.
No, everything is up at the spare irrigation site.
Okay.
The only other option will be if we can discharge to the brook.
Which hopefully we'll be able to after the project.
Hopefully.
Yeah.
All right, Chantel, take it away.
So I will make it as cheery as possible. No promises. So our census in the nursing home is 131, our assisted living's at 47. We did clear the outbreaks, which is exciting because we're out of masks. We have no COVID on either side of the house. However, we do have a resident with the flu. So looking at that, a lot of the time, the last couple of weeks has truly been around the RFP for dietary, combing through those, getting clarifications, working on budgeting, and with Jude's team around the drill or components of the emergency preparedness plan. Negotiations, as you mentioned, starting next week. Our dentist is retiring from us in April, so I've been working with one of the contacts that I have who does it to see about being able to come on if he's unable to do it. I do have another call out to someone else who does it, so kind of working to see from those, it's not it's not normally the way that dentals go, so it's a little harder to find. But at least in the interim, because of the established relationship I have, he's willing to make sure that we have something while we work through the process. So I've been working a lot on that. And my other piece, I guess it's not quite as positive. So CMS had issued back in like November, December, a 900-page updated memo around regulations. In that span of 2 weeks, they issued multiple regulations that was going to go into effect in February. With that, they then re-released it because it was almost like they were going for a timeline. With a couple updated that go into effect in March. So I've read through it a few times. I've attended a handful of trainings. Every time you do it, there's a different perspective. There's a lot of gray. So I'm in the process of rereading that. One of the pieces in there though, however, is the expectation that we would take residents who are Medicaid pending. So typically we want Medicaid in place because it's not a guarantee. You don't have the information. It's a huge liability that could turn into a write-off, et cetera. So one of the pieces in there is around that, if there's a Medicaid application in, not being able to deny for that piece, but there's different viewpoints on that. There is a call next week that's 2 hours through New Hampshire Healthcare Association that I have signed our center up for. That is a complete review of all 900 pages again. So my team will be present for that. It is kind of in conjunction time-wise with our, with BOC next week though, so I will hear, but not. But there's a lot of changes. Some of it's streamlining things, aligning regulations, things that have been in place through COVID, truly just aligning in that, but there are a lot of changes and new things being added, that will have implications as well.
Okay.
So,
On that happy note,
I know, we're
Well,
just going around
also-
in happiness.
I know, it is like a hard time.
I don't know, 900 pages of new regulations sounds like a nightmare to me.
Exactly. Well, and
It's
what
not
is-
all.
Also, what is the enforcement of this gonna be? I mean, in the nature of the eroding of.
Everybody's.
And
And there's a lot of
Yeah.
gray, and then I sit on a regulatories and affair committee through New Hampshire Healthcare's that I still sit on. We reconvened recently. Christy Holtz, who's the head surveyor, works very closely to assure for New Hampshire that we're kind of up to date. And there was conversations, and she was part of that. And with the hiring freeze, I know they're down 4 surveyors currently, and kind of the impact that could potentially then have on surveys. But some of the guidance that was coming out, and then we were able to question, wasn't guidance that she had received for her team. So there's so many different interpretations around things in there. But there was definitely an onslaught of like 6 memos in a very short amount of time between Thanksgiving and Christmas. And then they've been getting re-updated over the last couple months for continued clarifications. So
Stay tuned.
it's a light read. I'm happy to pass it on if you'd like to read through it.
Oh, thank you. When I have insomnia, I'll give you a call.
Yeah. Actually, well, Commissioner Godu was just saying that he wanted to spearhead that project.
Yeah. I'll have a copy for you. I have a couple binders as I'm going through. We can compare our highlights.
I was down to 2 pages.
All right, Jason.
I don't know if I want to. Let's see, in-house 130.
What?
Oh,
What?
Whoa, what's up? Oh, geez, people behaving in the winter, or they're just staying home?
This is flow season.
Yeah,
Yeah, it is. It's
I'm
so cold.
excited,
No,
though.
seriously, when it's like.
cold to commit crime.
cold.
Yeah. Well, I just,
That's why you like this now.
yeah, keep it low, works for us.
Mhm.
Yesterday I went down and testified on FN 314, which was the bill on not being able to use taxpayer dollars for lobbyists. But it went one step further. Anyone else that was a department head or anything else, if we went down and testified the way it reads, we could be charged with a misdemeanor. Because we're being paid by taxpayers. It was actually retained instead of TL. They didn't want to upset the main sponsor, basically.
So they're not killing it?
They're retaining it, but it's gonna take us, it's gonna be a slowdown. This is gonna come every
Oh my
year for
God.
past umpteen years. There are a lot of legislators, I was down the hallway saying to me, we gotta find a way just to kill this indefinitely because they're sick of having it
Every
back
year
every year.
being,
And it's only a couple people that put in for this bill.
It's a bad idea.
it's like, why wouldn't your expertise and your experience make it a value to educate legislature?
They,
Like, It doesn't make any
the-
sense.
it makes, they're saying that because we're not representing the people, in our positions per se, that we're doing undue influence.
But you're literally boots on the ground.
Correct. They want to be able to take away our voice of saying, the people that are experts are saying, like.
Yeah.
And including the lobbyists, say, the school board association, those kinds of things. They come in and testify or give information on stuff, maybe against some things the parents want. But again, we're looking at it for taxpayer dollars and everything else and what the laws and regulations are. And the state of New Hampshire will be in a bind if we weren't helping out and doing these kinds of things. On top of what I pointed out, I'm pretty sure I said, correct me if I'm wrong, I said to him, we're paying for lobbyists and help down in DC. This bill, you'd have to stop doing.
Oh, what do they think about that?
Yeah,
That's why it's getting, it's, but I said same last time too, so it all, you
it's
know,
getting, yeah.
That creates a big problem just with us alone. We're part of NHAC.
Well, of course.
right, and
That's
so
right.
that's what that's what they want,
The
they want
DuPont
that,
Yeah.
they want
Don't
that you
shut
could
down
not
the
use
DuPont group.
taxpayer dollars. You could use taxpayer dollars for all the other services that they might do, but not for for lobbying purposes.
Yeah,
You couldn't pay them out of taxpayer dollars.
we don't call them lobbyists, we call them.
You don't have to, but they still wear the badge that says they're lobbyists. They are lobbyists.
That's a problem for them.
So it'd be a problem for us.
Well, yeah, it's a problem.
Yeah.
We get a lot out of it.
We do, and that's what was
We're
testified
not
to.
gonna get that out of Washington.
No, municipal association, counties, even everybody, they all came out, came and said, listen.
Yeah.
You know, it's
Good.
small amount of money. And the reps that were there were good too. When Larry was like, I'm a selectman in town, we pay $200 a year for a municipal association. And we couldn't afford to have somebody here. We get a lot of benefit.
Yeah.
Right,
So-
that's right. And education is just, you can't
Yeah.
do.
I checked Salem pays 20 grand.
It's based on population. The town's very, very tiny.
Oh, okay, all
Yeah,
right.
you're gonna pay more with the larger town.
Because I remember going over that budget item in Salem.
I'm gonna give you some zeros here.
All right, okay.
At least you're paying attention in sales.
That can do it. Our Relias program, which is online learning, is going live, I think, next week. It's also all the emails for staff is also going live. So they can do those kinds of things, which is good for us because we're also on Relias. For us, we're putting all our policies on there, which they'll be signing off, those kinds of things. First policy is gonna be on email. To sign off on. Yeah.
There's a certain irony.
Yeah, certainly. So that's good. That's looking forward to that.
We have a lot of policies that are probably equivalents on things around storages, food and stuff that we can send over to you if you'd like to.
Cool. March 19th, there's a contingency from Hillsborough County. That's gonna come over here and tour the community corrections, 9:00.
Okay.
They're gonna be building a new jail over there. Well, that's their hope. And, they want to look at our community corrections. It's gonna be the newest and latest and greatest in the country.
And bestest.
And bestest. Kevin Warwick will be here, who we use as our consultant, taking their superintendent, and a few other people in his staff, along with their, people that are doing the construction and design. So that's good. They're, want to come out and take a look at us. Kevin Warwick convinced them saying, we don't need to travel for community correction. The best one in the country is just right down the road. So they're gonna come here.
It's really exciting.
It's gonna really
They all
go
come
well by
looking
then
like
too.
I know.
The flooring's
The
going in,
flooring.
the glass in the bunk rooms. I mean, it's
Just
really gonna show
finished
beautiful.
space.
Central control is coming along really nicely.
And I found that there's tours, we're the only one that we designed this, that the inmates are gonna eat on the unit, so we just bring the carts to them. Every other one's been designed. They actually have like a lunchroom, we bring them down to that, which means it's more staff intensive. I didn't know this is the first one being built this way. I had no clue. I just wanted it built that way because I want to do less staff
Makes sense.
intensive,
Yeah,
Right.
in my mind. But we'll be the first doing that one, so we'll be the experiment for other people.
Yeah, so you bring a bunch into the room, right? To eat. You don't have them all, you have different,
They stay in the unit.
right.
We bring a we bring the meal carts right down to the
oh,
unit.
you do the cots?
Yep, and they eat around the unit. Wherever the place, they would actually
Yeah,
shuffle on out to a
like mess
cafeteria,
hall.
mess hall.
Yeah.
So we're not doing that.
Yeah.
I guess everybody else does.
Oh, good.
Less staff.
Efficient.
Try to be. Robin, also, we have some issues with documentation that needs to be scanned. We have files in our basement, which is fire hazard, and everybody knows when we did have the flood back in the day, that we lost a ton of files, so I've really been pushing again for us to go paperless as best as possible. Robin looked at it, and we're looking like DocStar and these other things.
Mhm.
It's $500,000.
Mhm.
So, that being said, Robin is taking a look at, maybe we can purchase and own our own
Server.
product, server product. Cause then I would just take a staff member and train and do it ourselves. Should be a heck of a lot cheaper, to do it that way. And so that's what she's looking at. So we're also moving forward in that direction. as well.
Something we could use, I mean, I guess it's something countywide.
Yes.
We want our own, I don't know.
Mhm.
I mean,
Everybody.
We just digitalize
Yeah.
all those records.
Maybe your RFP will, yield some folks that might be able to provide services as well. If
right.
we can do anything together, it would be good.
Um, I have asked Prime Care to look at an extension, which they should have for me soon, from July 1st to June 31st of 25, 26, because I'm not anticipating going into the building, but I need an extension for them, because the following year we'll have to do an RFP or sole source, what we're gonna do, because we're gonna need medical inside that building. This gives us time to actually run the building without inmates in there, put a couple staff members, because our office is over there, those kinds of things. So you will see that's gonna be obviously a budget increase, because it's gonna go up for a year extension. With that, we haven't worked,
Have they said how much they're going, like?
last time it was like 2 or 3%, so. But
A request, sorry to interject,
No.
a request. Can you have them sharpen their pencils and try to parse out the MAT program related expenses? I mean, obviously, we have the separate distinct LPN that.
Yep.
That are doing the opioid abatement funds, that was approved back when it discontinues. But if they can do a better carve out,
I can.
because then that might actually end up a reduction in the general fund portion.
Yeah.
And we'll just throw that object code into the opioid abatement fund.
Yes,
We can
we're
go.
in agreement, because
Okay.
then maybe we don't even feel the burn of the increase.
I just like, these grants that we're also working on, my hope is that we'll get these in middle of the next fiscal year, we'll be able to bring some new staff members on. And be ready for the building at no cost to the county per se, at least for 2 to 3 years. And then slowly transition, you can still use open bid money for these positions if we deemed that we're still needed and heading that direction. So we have a long-term plan. To try to minimize the
Strategic
impact,
plan.
impact of the county and taxpayers using the resources we already have.
And I think, I appreciate that, just in the sense of that strategic plan, both from a cost perspective and knowing that, I mean, I just see dollar signs left and right going into for the fiscal year with the new building opening up, because there's gonna be so much increased cost. So I think by sort of transitioning that cost over the next fiscal year, especially because you want to make sure you're up and running from the security and safety and some of the other, infrastructure issues within it makes sense. And then we'll spread it across a little more. I don't know.
That's the game plan.
I think there are a lot of expenses we haven't anticipated yet. Putting in a whole new building, there's gonna be
Oh,
we need
yeah.
to empty the trash or whatever the silly
Well, I
thing
mean-
is that didn't get thought of.
Just in some of the discussion of like getting back and forth to the courthouse, it's,
Right.
that
So,
could be a $50,000 expense added on to, like,
Because you know why, we don't know what it is yet.
but anyway,
Yeah.
we need
And that,
to,
for me, that's why it makes it makes my life a little easier. I wanna know, cause I mean, I have to do, for my whole section, because I'm a little different. I need mattresses, I need this, I need that. And I can build it over a couple budgets, maybe I'll beef up this next budget to be able to buy some stuff. But not real high, and then, so I'm just trying to parcel out. I think still talking and still dealing with, possibility of holding ice. Headquarters is kind of fast tracking some things.
Are we going with that? We're gonna.
That's March 3rd. March 3rd, take a ride down to Plymouth, Mass, look at their facility.
March 3rd.
They have.
But-
They're the gold standard. They hold 500 ICE detainees.
are we talking about detainees that are just criminally charged?
Yes,
So
no asylum seekers.
that, I mean,
So when you,
this
it's
is,
just opposite thinking. So the asylum seekers are considered low risk. So, first thing you say is, well, we'll take low risk. But they're the ones come with the people that are going to protest and have a lot more political stuff in our interface. We're only going to take the ones that are criminally charged, actually that are charged criminally.
pending case.
How
Right.
long would they be here?
I think we need to,
Depends.
yeah, I mean, I think we need to really vet this thing out, but
That's why we're going on mass, they're the
Yeah.
gold standard. And with us,
Well-
since we're not taking that, like, the money up front, right, that, if somebody is too
They
difficult
took
for us,
that
we
million,
just,
right?
they stick money up front, and then they still got paid per day, because that means they can't get rid of somebody.
And you and I had that discussion.
Yeah, we
They
can-
took that
with
million, they
us-
couldn't get rid of the guys, they had to stay.
Yeah.
At least if we see it, it blows up in our face, we
Yeah.
can say, get them out of here.
Which is typical of most federal ones. I mean, Merritt County's holding 70 or so, US Marshal holds, and they're looking to take some ice in as well too. Twin Bridges in Maine just came online. They're expanding more and more. That being said,
I think too, I wanna just say one thing, I don't wanna lose sight that, our county jail is people that make bad decisions.
Mhm.
And they're here for a year, this ICE thing, we really,
Concerning.
huh?
Are you worried about it? in
Yeah,
terms- I
yeah.
am too.
I'm concerned about it because, we've taken away from what we're really set up out back for. So I wanna go to the March 3rd one, I've already told you I have.
Yeah.
well, and remember, this is gonna be parceled out into 2 units, so they're not intermixing with anything else. Which is also. For Stratford County, that makes it very difficult if you mix them in, because then it's all different ball of wax, so it'll be parceled out. In that aspect, they come in and out because they go to court and those kinds of things. You'd have a full-time ICE officer here on campus at our place Monday through Friday with us handling their issues. We should call it, so-
Oh, no, please.
And a direct line to Guantanamo.
Yeah. And Jason, I've talked to George McLaris, the chairman of the board of Stratford. And, it was nice, they got 10 million up front, but they were locked in, they couldn't say, come take Tommy Tumble and bring him back
Right.
where you got him. And he's not sold on it, so I really wanna look at it, and I'm concerned, my other concern, I talked to a couple of correction guys, I talked to them, I don't know if our guys they're gonna need some different training, right
Of course.
now. They deal with a guy, like I said, or a female that makes a bad decision. And they're here for you, these guys are bad dudes, or these girls are bad dudes, so.
Don't keep in mind, we still have bad dudes.
Yeah.
We have fights.
Yeah, I know, but I mean, we
Not
know
any-
how to control them, and these guys know the atmosphere, this is a brand new, so I'm cautious, we talked, you and I have had a conversation for $1 million, the revenue looks good, but sometimes good ain't good.
No, I agree. I mean, just we're gonna put on the table for you, and closer to that, closer to $8 million, we're giving F and G, FYI. In revenue.
But, but what is the question is, I mean, to Commissioner Tombrello's point, which I think is like, there's an opportunity cost, right?
Mhm.
And we need to look at what we're doing and what, like, sort of a bigger picture of how our facility, what is our facility, what are our goals, not just, and, the impact on our staff, the impact, there's a lot of factors at play, so
There is.
I don't think, yeah.
And that's why I had on the conversation, because we already have a contract with ICE that we had way back when. We can actually take ICE.
We make the decision, though.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so, but it's not a negotiate, it's a rider off of US Marshal holds, okay? We have a contract with US Marshals, but I'm trying to find, looks like it was updated in 2016, but I can't find, I'm working Marshals and Chuck to find that. Because what can happen now is if we choose to, want to, we could actually take in some holds now, if we want to, under the US Marshal riders, which doesn't allow us, we don't have to do all the hoops of what ICE has to do. So we're able to do that as well.
Oh, no.
That's an option even as we speak now, that I'm exploring with them. Obviously, everything comes back to you guys, obviously, but exploring with them back and forth to see how that would work too. But we're doing our due diligence to bring everything
You are.
forward.
Great.
And
You're gonna go on that tour on the
Yeah.
13th.
I don't think they're being, they look like bad people. I don't think they're being, I'm gonna be in the back.
Are you gonna be in the back?
Yeah.
And I think we also have to look out for legislation that's actually compelling us to take in.
Well, that's a whole nother.
It's another
That's a
concern,
big
just another
concern.
concern too.
so, yeah, there's legislation that they're adding to RS, I want to add RSA 30B, which I think is gonna pass.
You do.
To that the counties, can hold ICE detainers after the resolution of their state charges up to 48 hours on a detainer. Again, the issue is cost. We keep pushing back. Who's paying for it if they get hurt?
And
Who's paying for that?
yeah, what about the liability?
Medical.
What I think the compromises they're looking at is, those that don't have a contract with ICE don't have to take that. What they would do is have to go to a facility that has ICE contract, which makes sense because you already have a contract with your daily rate and they're paying and medical.
Sure. So if we don't have,
A contract that,
we wouldn't be on the hook for that.
well, even with, okay, anyways, you get your daily rate and you already have contracts, so your daily rate, medical would all be, yeah, you won't be on the hook because we have a
Oh,
contract. If you don't have a contract, they just wouldn't go to you, they go to.
Correct,
Has.
so we
So
don't.
either
have
way,
to-
we won't be on the hook.
But we wouldn't have the exposure. I mean, that's if we didn't have the contract.
Correct. So that's in that bill right now. We'll see what happens with that. But again, the biggest thing is if it doesn't change to that, to keep the way it is, we will be fighting pretty hard to say who's paying this bill.
Yeah.
Just so that, you put a couple up in co-os and get some medical stuff's gonna sink their ship. That's what I got.
Allison, give us some good news. Hey,
So Autumn will be going to a job fair at UNH on February 27th. She will be attending Raymond High School for an event over there on the 19th. And she went to the NH job fair in Manchester at the mall last year and had some success with that. And she'll be attending that on April 5th. She'll be doing a reach out to Siobhan and Chantel about maybe having somebody there to support if they have identified. It might be good connection, just so they can talk to that. We had a Medicare webinar yesterday that went very well. It was attended nicely by a number of folks. Stephen Porto is the area vice president at Gallagher, and he just specializes in Medicare. And so he is there for all of their book of business, and individuals do not have to contact me or us because it's really personal to the employee or the person, and can call him directly to talk about Medicare. And if they're, what the pros and cons are around supplemental insurance and stuff like that. And he can kind of help them with those questions, which I think is great. And I'm going to have him come out on site twice a year, because people have their age bands at different times, just so that it's an informational session and it just keeps it in their mind, because it is overwhelming. Even for all of us that sat there, I think I walked away with like a bazillion questions. But it's, you get notified by Social Security a couple, 3 to 4 months ahead of when you're turning. All this stuff, and it comes on so fast, and then you're in a panic mode. So folks being able to have that information from Stephen and be able to reach out to him ahead of time, and they can have it in their mind and reach out as they kind of attain that age bracket where they might have to make some decisions. We have the Colonial Life is here today. That's our cancer, accident and illness. That's a voluntary product. They're on site today. Another way, we're really trying to pump out a lot of different benefit related stuff to our employees, because we haven't held a benefit fair in a long, long time, and things are changing and shifting all the time. And I think it's important just to, even though we do the annual open enrollment and they get a blast, then I just want things to keep rolling out each month. We're going to try to keep rolling things out that may be interest to some people and not others, but just to keep the education of what we have going and different options for them out there. And so that they're not bombarded at one point or time. We do, I think, have an LPN in 2 weeks, 2 or 3 weeks that may be coming on, and an RN. Talking to Autumn about that. She told me the other day. And we also have an LNA apprentice that we hired for the program, but it is getting full, all of those programs, but she's starting in March. So it's a good, so I think we'll be rolling in. I just saw 2 more applications or inquiries into that over the last couple of days, and she's really quick in connecting in with those folks and just trying to get them through the door, getting them in a tour, talking about stuff. And then if they're really interested, getting them signed off. I sign off on the agreement right away with them, so that they can then connect in and get into one of the LNA career programs. And we do pay for those. So, and like I said, it has been successful, and we have another one that will be finishing their program in March, because they're doing it part-time. It just worked out better in their schedule to finish up in the clinical portion of it part-time, and they'll be coming on board with us in March. It looks like the end of March. So it's good. It's
Great.
good in that,
Pipeline. More
small
pipeline.
doses, but it's good doses, because they're excited and it's coming through for fruition this time, this program, the way we're doing it. And that's what I believe I had. Yes.
Good, but we should have started with you first.
Thank you.
No,
And
it's
not
better
a
to.
Don't.
Yeah,
Yeah, and on a high note, no vote.
Yeah, I know.
Can't tell them.
Russ was looking down like an anchor.
Do you have anything?
This is the most somber meeting.
the non-county specialist application and instructions sheet has been updated and posted to the website. Great.
Thank you. Anything else?
That's it.
All right, do we have any new business or business?
Am I the liaison to non-county specialists?
We
Do we
do,
know-
we don't,
But that,
I don't think we don't do a liaison to non-county
well,
specialists.
we used to sit in the subcommittee,
Well, we can,
we used to do that. That's actually golden, when they
Yeah.
come in, I like that. They bring in the different, folks that.
different organizations that do, yeah.
I'll be there. I like that one. That's a good one.
Any public, no public comment? All right, we have, so we have the Lawson group coming in at 10. So,
Oh, so we don't have time for non-public, Yeah.
well,
or do we?
I think we will be go into non-public and, then.
Lawson Group will be
Yeah,
part of it.
Part of that.
Okay.
So with that, I will take a motion.
I'll make a motion to go into non-public on the New Hampshire RSA 91-A, 3. Number 2, A, personnel, and J, internal process.
Second,
On the motion, Commissioner Tombrilla,
Yes.
Commissioner Godu,
yes,
and I vote yes. It's 9:55. Thank you.
all right.
Want to go back and talk about the RFP stuff or?
I think that we'll pick up. Good, almost afternoon. It's now 11:54. We've come out of non-public and I'm gonna turn it over to Commissioner Tombrello to make motions with respect to the non-public sessions we have.
I'll make a motion in the non-public session that we had under 5 items. I would make a motion that we seal all 5 indefinitely.
Great,
Second.
on the motion, yeah. And, the basis is,
Oh,
just to add to that, just so everyone's clear, the reason we're sealing these indefinitely is because they either affect, personnel matters or, some internal processes or things that we have no definite resolution, so, and it,
great.
and on that motion, is there any discussion? I presume not. Commissioner Godu,
Yes.
Commissioner Tombrello, and I vote yes. We have one last motion to make.
I'll make a motion that we adjourn.
Second,
All those in favor? Aye, so moved.
all right. very
Have a great afternoon, everybody.